I'm Sumera Abdi. On the show today, did you know that many of the most actively managed funds in India are some of the cheapest in the world? In some cases, in fact, they are cheaper even than the index fund. So what does it mean for investors? Should you rush to these funds? Should you be wary of their regular plans? What do you do? Feroze Azeez, Deputy CEO of Anand Rathi Wealth, and Mohit Gang, CEO and co-founder of Moneyfront, join in. Gentlemen, good afternoon to both of you. So how does a person as an investor decide that, an investor has no way of knowing, right, how the AMC, like Mohit said, will decide the fate of each scheme, especially with respect to expenses. And by no means are expenses the only way to even decide which fund you want to invest in. But when you have this short list, how do you decide when do I go with an advisor? When do I go with the regular plan? What difference is too big to miss?
Sumira, I think firstly, research throws up that the cheapest ones were not the best ones. Now, for example, if you list down the funds which have the least expense in direct and have been in existence for the last 3 years, the top cheapest ones actually have generated not significant, apart from one or two of them. So point one I'm making is an investor should be clear, not always lower cost can result in a larger value gain. So cost is an important criteria, but assuming that lower cost will create value may not be true. At least with the cheapest 5 funds, I don't see the best alphas having come through. That's one. And the most important thing which you said, Sumera, how do I decide as an investor, should I invest through a distributor or go direct? To my mind, if you have a distributor or an advisor who can handhold you and help you control your emotions during tough times, then it is worth paying that 0.7, 0.8, 0.9%, which is the normal differential between regular and direct in most schemes. So that's one. For example, like at Anand Rathi last year, when the industry had a negative outflow, our clients had an inflow and got the complete rally of a 70-80%, which was the last financial year's equity movement. So point I'm making is, if the distributor is giving you a lot of peripheral services, be it hand-holding you, helping you make decisions on asset allocation, helping you decide the risk of it and all that, then he's doing holistic wealth management for you. Go with all schemes in regular. If your product selection is on the basis of a show, so much content is there, Sumera, in all your shows where you're giving great advice. And if that's how you're choosing a scheme, then definitely go direct and save the cost because you're getting information for free on platforms like the electronic medium. So that's the second part. The third, I personally think India being the cheapest, because of SEBI's regulation, which came into effect a while back, cheapest active managed funds in the top 5-6 economies is a great news for investors, irrespective.
No, Feroze, you're absolutely right. We're going to talk about that global example when you return after this quick break. And also on the other side, we'll talk about how does it happen that some of the most actively managed funds are actually cheaper than even index funds. How do you explain that? All of that is lined up next. Stay tuned. Feroze, is that how you see it? Lowering the expense ratios continuously is going to dent margins, profitability, and will it end up being detrimental to both AMCs and investors?
Sumera, I personally think that if somebody reduces cost beyond a certain point, creating value, the responsibility of creating value keeps diminishing. So my firm belief is, if there is a tender, you would never give the order to the cheapest source. So I personally believe value is inversely correlated to cost. If I, as an advisor, don't make 0.8%, 1% a year, I would not want to do the maximum value creation. So that's my firm belief. Second, of course, margin pressures are already there, and I don't see further compression of margin for the distributor fraternity or the asset management company fraternity. The cheapest offers which you get over a period of time, a client will realize those are not the best value creators. That's our firm belief. Coming to expense ratios, I personally think Indian market will go through some degree of innovation, which the global market has gone through. But there have also been funds which are proposing negative expense ratio on the basis of innovation of the stock lending and trying to make money there instead of charging the client. So I think innovation will create better benefit for the client, but I think margins are at the lowest. I see the trend, like Mohit mentioned, but there will be people who will create value to justify that 0.5 to 0.8% they earn. And I'm sure they'll be successful if they put in cost and energy to create the value for people.
Feroze, thank you very much for joining in. So the word coming in from our experts is that yes, there is this trend that on the direct side at least, expenses are becoming very, very low and in turn unsustainable, primarily because to my mind, it appears in this race to mop up the assets to retain that top spot in the rankings. But advisors do add value, and if you so choose to go with an advisor, like Feroze said, they will be doing some sort of value addition to earn that 0.5, 0.8% extra. However, if you are an investor savvy enough, do consider choosing the direct route. You will see that difference over a longer period. With that, we're out of time on MF Corner. Thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned.